Today, we're talking about the self-led edge, learning to trust yourself and redefine success. Welcome back to another episode of the Movement, Mind, and Meaning podcast. I'm your host, Megan Nolan, and today we're actually doing something fun. I am interviewing a guest, which I do often, but this is a fun situation. I'll tell you the backstory in a minute, but I have my friend Melinda Alexander here, who is actually leading an incredible summit that is kicking off soon or now, depending on when you listen to this, called Own Your Power, Lead Your Way. We'll tell you more about this free summit and how you can get all the goods. But I wanted to introduce and welcome you, Melinda. Great to have you here.
It's awesome to be here with you. Thank you, Megan. I'm privileged to be on your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. So we'll tell
Yay.
people about how, oh, sparkle wave. I love it. Yes. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see the happy peacock sparkle wave. For those of you listening to the audio, just use your imagination. It's fabulous. So the summit is, while you're listening to this podcast, we've opened up registration. People are signing up. People are really excited. We're going to have the link for you to grab your spot for free. And we'll talk more about the logisticals about it, but just know that there are so many incredible tools in there where you're able to create your life and your version of success in a way that really feeds and fulfills you and your beautiful soul and allows you to fully express your purpose in life with so many different incredible experts, including Melinda, of course, because she's leading the summit, but also moi.
Megan.
Yay! And before we talk about what it means to have our self-led edge and how we can redefine success, I want to tell you a really fun story of how Melinda and I met. So I get an email one day from this beautiful human who's saying, "Hello, I would love to have you on my summit, the aforementioned Own Your Power Summit that you're going to join us for." And I said, "Oh, wow, thanks so much. I'd love to be a speaker at your summit. So great to hear that you listened to one of the podcast episodes and you loved it. Just curious, how did you find me?" This is me talking. And Melinda writes back and says, "Well, you're never going to believe it, but I asked Chatty G. Those of you know I called Chat GPT Chatty G because we're like BFFs. I asked Chatty G who some up and coming speakers in the leadership space are to connect
Mhm.
with and have at the summit. And you're on the list, Megan." And I was like, "Oh, Chatty G knows who I am. And I'm on the list of up and coming speakers." I literally cried and then happy danced and wagged my tail and like did it all in about 3.5 seconds. And so that's how Melinda and I met. So kind of a fun story of our backstory. But when we did our interview for my component to the summit, we really connected in so many ways about why we are so passionate about what we do and how we serve and how we support you. And so, Melinda, I would love for us to just jump right in. We just jump right in here and we just get to know each other. You and I know each other a little bit, but my people don't know you yet. And we'd love to
Right.
hear a little snippet of a moment in time on your journey, on your path that maybe was an insight, maybe an aha, maybe a woof, like, oh, what's happening here, that allowed you to go along the way to where you are now.
Sure, sure. Well, there's so many, honestly, so many turning points in my life. And, the largest turning point in my life, most people ask me, well, how did you end up in Hawaii? We're both out here in Hawaii, Megan and I. And I always answer, the short answer is disease, death, and divorce. And then the entire economy collapsed when the banking bubble burst in 2008. So all of a sudden life was just like pulled out from under me. The 10 years prior to that, I walked my dad through his Alzheimer's disease until he passed in 2006. And so that's the disease, his death. And then I got a divorce 2 years later. So it was just, these breaking points when you're observing loss like that, who I was before and who I became after. And it's really a shedding of many things in my life that happened during that process of disease, death, and divorce, and letting go of a lot of false things that I was taught to be that I really wasn't, the things I was trying to be, but really wasn't. And I started to observe deeper parts of myself that wanted to emerge, even if I didn't know what they were. It was a painful time, excruciating, and sometimes scary. And but it led me to a place of transformation. So I was invited to a yoga retreat in Hawaii, and I was there for about 10 days, went back to my home in Texas, and that's when the economy collapsed, and I had no reason to stay. And I had noticed before I left this retreat that there was a 3-month period of time that you could stay and volunteer. You could work and you could live. And I could go all the way through my grief process, not all the way, obviously, but I was grieving and I needed this medicine for the soul, right? So I spent time there and I learned a lot about healing arts and learned a lot about connection with the body. And when I went back to Texas and the economy collapsed, I went back to that retreat center for 3 months. So I never moved to Hawaii. I was in Hawaii for 3 months. It was working for me. I stayed another 3 months. And that period of time extended into all these years later. I'm still here. And it's not about being in Hawaii that's really the important part of this. It's about the transformation. So I went from a corporate, like, superwoman, not just in the corporate arena. I was trying to be superwoman to everything and everyone in my life. And that breaking down those processes of loss, grief, and death and divorce led me to kind of shedding a lot of things that truly were not in alignment with myself. So doors were closing for me, and then I closed the doors. A door opened for me, and I started going down to that path. And today, I help people who were in that path who want not necessarily to make a radical change like I did, but they want to be happier and more truly fulfilled and aligned in their lives. So that's what brought me here today.
Hmm. I love that. I have a similar story. Which yoga studio or the retreat center were you at?
I lived and worked at Kalani Hanua on the Big Island.
Stop it right now. That's where I was. Stop it right now. Oh my goodness. I was like, wait, at Kalani, they did a 3-month volunteer thing.
They did. They did. Ended up being there a little over a year and a half. It was, and I lived on the Big Island for a couple of years before going to Maui. And then I had another, huge, massive change with the Maui wildfires that brought me to Oahu. I had health issues and so
Oh.
forth that I needed to come to Oahu. So I've been on 3 of the islands now. Sometimes life pushes us forward. Sometimes doors close without our permission. We can't control these things, right? So
Totally.
when were you there? Just to
I was there 2000 on Big Island at Kalani a few times for those durations from 2004 to 6.
Okay, so I came after you. Yeah,
Okay.
2008 to 2010. And then I went to I moved to Maui. Yeah.
Okay.
So, in essence, the person that was in Texas, the person that was taught to be and do all these things for others and at work, and I was a real perfectionist and I pushed my edges. I really pushed everything. I pushed my health. I achieved all the goals. I had everything in my house was just perfect. Things were set just right. I was, without knowing it, coming from a place of lack inside, but doing everything to the external in the external world to try to bring validation, bring safety, um, bring love, whatever that was. It was all my value was external to myself. I had been taught to be all these things, that this would bring me happiness and success. And what happened was I did all those things. I tested the system and I honestly was not doing so well. And I kept trying. So, you try again, you try again. It's like, well, let's do this, let's do that. You keep tweaking it. And for me, it was a very, I didn't know how much I would call it dysfunction today, but it was just a lack of awareness. So I did have another moment when I was in that place. I realized when people told me that, excuse me, that I should do my best. Well, not, no, no. People would say, just do your best. Just do your best. That's a place of acceptance. Now, a lot of people would hear that and just think, okay, I'll do my best and that's enough. But for me, it was like a death sentence. Do my best was like way over the bar, way over my healthy limits. I didn't use these terms back then, but it was the perfect of perfect. right? So I tried to do everything to this level. So everything below that was failure and disappointment. So even if I achieved the goal and made it perfect, all I felt was relief that the project was over. I didn't celebrate my win. There was no celebration in this misery. So driving myself and others around me, because that's what I thought we should do in the world. We should be and behave. So I really broke myself. Life broke me. And so when those breaking moments happen, even if they're slowly rusting away or whether you've really burned out, they're an opportunity to really refocus on like what is it that I want in my life? What is it that truly matters? So going through a 10-year walk with Alzheimer's disease also does that. Any type of deep grief is an opportunity to really refines us by fire and allows us to see what truly matters. So
Well, I
those
can see
moments,
why you are really super passionate about what you do and the summit
yeah,
itself. And so thank you for sharing all of that. And
sure.
it's an interesting thing that I know a lot of people definitely in the summit will be relating to, as well as here on the podcast in my community, of that insatiable desire for more and nothing ever being really good enough. And
Hmm.
learning that we get to create those new standards and new definitions for ourselves. And that's really what personal growth and expansion is about, is learning to create our own expectations that truly satisfy our soul and truly nurture us at a deep level. Because, like you said, we're seeking safety, we're seeking that groundedness. And for many of us, that comes through achievement. And it's uncomfortable for us to slow down and stop, especially when we have a lot of things on the go. So, when you say self-led leadership, and it feels like there's just that something more, and we're searching for it from these external validations, accomplishment, success, et cetera, et cetera. How can you truly help people to, or what has been your journey to redefining success so that it does feel fulfilling at that deeper level that we're all really craving ultimately?
Y- I'll go back to a phrase you said just a second ago when it's never enough. We're seeking all these things, right, to bring us happiness, success, safety, whatever we think we need in the world, right? But then you feel like something's missing because we're seeking on the outside. And let's say, you achieve that, you buy that, you get that big house. Now, high achievers are celebrated in the world. So we're celebrated in that. So there is some um, feedback loop there that reinforces this behavior, right? But when you find yourself continually having success, but feeling like something is missing internally, that's an indicator. There's an indicator that something is off. So we often don't slow down enough to actually look at that. We just keep going for the next achievement or the next goal. And life pushes us too, because you have to claim that moment of solitude or that moment of quiet. You have to claim that time. So if you want relief from this, from pushing past your limits and chronic burnout, you have to actually claim that moment in time. Then reconnect with yourself. Reconnect with what you've been losing touch with, which is your self-guidance, right? Your self-trust. People go, well, what's true self? Well, true self, is something that if you don't have a relationship with, which I did not back then, I did not. I was in compulsive reactive behaviors, which I didn't even recognize, and I loved achieving. I loved hitting my goals. But to turn inward, we have to slow down and we have to stop and we have to start asking ourselves question, why am I feeling this way? What is it that I want? Like you don't have to drive yourself all the way into full burnout and misery and disconnection. Start to reconnect. Start taking that time to yourself. And I know your big work is on power pause, so it really aligns with this, right? It really aligns with what I'm saying. And I think that was one of the things that drew me towards you as a rising star in this space. So once we've, found our breath, and we recognize that we want relief from these things, and we stop and start to slow down and reconnect with ourselves, that's when the magic starts to happen. We can start asking ourselves and giving ourselves. This is the key. Self-led starts, if you want to be a great leader in the world, you have to start with yourself. You have to start to lead yourself. You can't go out and be that to all the other people in the world, because you will feel false. You will feel disconnected. One of our speakers in the conference is Valerie Young, who is, the foremost teacher about imposter syndrome. Well, you go out trying to lead other people and you are not connected with yourself. You're going to feel like a fraud. It's going to feel like a dual life. That's not alignment. If you try to drive a car and one wheel, and your car is out of alignment, it's pulling you to one side of the road and you're trying to go straight, right? So it's this tug of war within yourself. So, we want to realign from living out of sync with ourselves and stop pretending, stop performing, just to keep up, stop meeting other people's goals, and feeling like we're betraying ourselves. I really was betraying myself and I was hurting myself and I didn't know it. So it's not about self-blame. Like, overachievers are just doing what the world told them, you know, that they were supposed to do to check all the boxes for happiness and success. So if we don't ask ourselves, what is our happiness and success? What is our happiness and success? What is it that truly matters to me? And then start to take steps towards that, we're going to stay in that stuckness. You have to pause and you have to look within and you have to ask these questions. And I would say it's good to have support, to have support in the world. Don't try to do this on your own, because we have habituated habits. So it's good to be with a coach or a team or a group that is supporting this. So when you fill up yourself, when you start to fill yourself, you give yourself the answers to those questions. What is it I really need? Why am I feeling miserable? What is missing? And you start to ask yourself, how can I give that to myself? How can I give that to myself? And it might just be some internal self-dialogue. That's what the self-led edge is. So when you start to be self-led, you have an edge over everybody else that's not doing this. You'll have more space in your life. You'll feel more calm. You will no longer be pushing past your limits because you're going to be aware of those limits. You're going to feel like life is enough. Life is more than enough. Gratitude starts to come in. You start to turn your gaze towards not just the stress and the goal, but the beauty, the people around you. You start to have space for yourself and others. It just feels really good. And, through that, you just start to give yourself more permission and more permission and more permission to really continue to self realign and move away from all the chaos and choose. Like, life will still throw these things at you. I mean, I didn't have any choice when the Maui wildfires happened. I got really sick with long COVID. I was one of those folks. Sometimes life, has these twists and turns. Death, disease, divorce, these things happen in our lives. But if we are there for ourselves, we can remain calm. And through the calmness, there's creativity and innovation, there's fun, and we can really, really connect with our intuition. And when you have that extra space where you're not doing that duality thing within yourself, and you feel realigned, you have so much more space and presence for others. It's just a beautiful, beautiful transition. So that's what self-led is. You want to be self-led before you go out in the world and do other things. Check in with yourself through that pause. Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. And that is the essence of the power pause. And that is
Yeah.
true leadership, is that self-regulation so that we can go first. We're leading by example. We're leading from a place of authenticity and truth and integrity and our core values, which are so important. And I really love what you're saying there. And it's a much broader, what I would call holistic definition of success, because it does include the internal state that we're in, rather than just the external accomplishments, which we've been told are more important. But if you look at it from the perspective of sustainability of the impact that you're having in your work, your business, whatever you're doing, as well as, and I think more importantly, the sustainability of your body.
Hmm.
Also very important, is
Yes.
that that's really what matters, right? That's
Hmm.
really what we're all after, is how we feel. And
Yeah.
so what I hear you saying is coming to a place of presence within ourselves, of what our true needs are and our true goals are, and really leading from that anchored place and that place of self-direction and alignment. So I love everything that you've shared, and I can tell that from what you shared of some of the other speakers and my own talk, which was, as you may have guessed, about taking power pauses and the
Yeah.
importance of those along the way, not just here and there every once in a while, having that be foundational so that you are truly nourished and regulated and supported, like the way you drink water throughout the day, right? And you eat food
Hmm.
throughout the day. This is where we can continually give ourselves what we need at a deeper level. And so as we're wrapping up, would you tell us just a little bit more about what people will be experiencing as part of the summit when you grab your spots, which the link is going to be everywhere nearby. So make sure to get
Hmm.
signed up and share it with some friends.
Sure.
And so, yeah, tell us a little bit more about some of the other speakers or any of the details you think are important to share.
Well, it's too much to go into the speakers because I have 22 speakers, and I know I mentioned one speaker earlier, but there's 22 speakers, all true powerhouses, and this is coming from a healing viewpoint on overfunctioning and just being on autopilot. Like, so what we kind of check out of our own lives. So the own your power, lead your way summit, we want to break free from the overfunctioning, right? We want to get out of that autopilot mode so we can really redefine success and have true fulfillment at the same time. So you do not have to self-sacrifice to be successful. That's not what it means. So taking those little micro pauses, even like I said, I would say even micro pauses before you even respond to anyone else. We're going to talk about all of these different aspects of overfunctioning. 22 speakers over 15 days. Lots of freebies, lots of free gifts, lots of really valuable things, and it's all free. It's all free for our participants. And so come see Megan and come see our other speakers. I'm not going to mention the rest of the names. If you come to the summit registration page, you can check it out and see all of the people that are speaking. But we're talking about, top level speakers in their field. So, come join us. And I really feel like if you're feeling that sense of disconnection with yourself, it's worth your time to come to the summit. And you'll see the menu of people. You can listen to the speakers for free over those 15 days. Pick the speakers that you want, mark your calendars, and you'll get the emails right to your inbox, and can get audio downloads so you can listen to them on the fly and just repattern these things in our lives.
I love that. And so when they are available, are they only available live, or is it something that people can listen to based on their time zone, their schedule, et cetera? How does that work?
They'll be available live each day. They will get either two or one speaker. I feature certain speakers, only one on each day on some days, and two on the every other day. So for the day that they're released, they'll have 24 hours to listen to those talks. You can
Okay,
obviously buy the replays at a very nominal fee. If you want all of them to go, you can have them all and for forever. So
great.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, thank you for making that easy. And
yeah.
thank you for putting this all together, having put together summits on my own, and as with support as well, but just doing summits in general. I know there's a lot of moving parts. And so
Yeah, there
I know
are.
that
There
there's
are.
just a lot of things. And so I appreciate all of that. So as we're wrapping up, if someone is experiencing that sense of anxiety, stress, overfunctioning, reaching their limit, ready to throw in the towel, or not necessarily all the way there to that side,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
anywhere on the spectrum or there,
Hmm.
wherever that person might be, what would you say to them if that was you in that moment? What would you have really wanted and needed to hear?
Mm, good question. You know, I would say to take as much time as you can to build into your life around your work and around that, because you really got to slow down. You really got to slow the process down and get support, because that if you're really at that breaking point or considering it, that's not a bad thing, because it's really just information. It's information. You might feel like you're in a crisis, but know that those are habituated patterns that just need to be remapped, if you will, remapped. And then when you can take a little bit of time, get your nervous system to unwind a bit, find your clarity and that peace and quiet and alignment. And sometimes you need to be with a practice or another human or in another space or something guided, so that you can have your world silence a bit, your internal world silence. The wisdom is there. The wisdom is there. But you can't really make decisions if you're in crisis mode, right? If you're in fight or flight, right? So if you're in that place of misery and desperation, knowing something needs to change, but not knowing what that is, we don't want to react out of that space. If you can, don't react out of it. I did in certain places in my life. I did. And sometimes that can cause an additional trauma. You can literally you can traumatize yourself or cause yourself even more anxiety, ripping yourself out of one thing into another, thinking that is the solution. So I would say slow down, slow down. Let's create some space around that and help coach you through it. That's what I would say. Because you can make a good decision, but I would say make it calmly from your inner guidance with help and strategically. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, so spot on as far as what's truly happening when we are in that activated state of not being able to
Mm-hmm.
access the higher wisdom because we're in survival mode, right?
That's right.
And sometimes we're in go mode like that and we don't even remember and we're just so verklempt and needing and whatever it is and really seeking solutions. But it's such an important reminder of the importance of power pausing, but truly of community, right? Which is one of our core needs to come back to the regulated state. And so thank you so much for bringing together the community around this beautiful summit of myself, yourself, all the other speakers, but also all of the beautiful people that will be learning from all of us. And really, that's what we're doing here, is being able to create a ripple, and
That's
true
right.
self-led leadership comes when we
Mm-hmm.
start first. So make sure to grab your spot for the summit. As Melinda mentioned, it's totally free. If you know anyone that you're like, okay, this is my friend, totally needs to come to this. She's very
Mm-hmm.
tightly wound, or, anything like that, where you feel that you thought of somebody, or you had a, just any sort of intuitive hit as we were sharing, send the episode to them, invite them to join you as your buddy for the summit. Really, it's so beautiful when we can spread the word and share these tools, because the more people that have them, the better, because not only are you feeling more grounded, more happy, more centered, more purposeful, all the beautiful things, but then you're going out and doing incredible things in the world. And then through your energy, you're supporting other people and coming back to that place within themselves. And so it is that beautiful butterfly effect, right? And so make sure to grab your spot. Join us for the summit, and all of the links and details and more details about Melinda will also be in the description of the podcast or the video, wherever you're watching this. And then make sure to join us for this beautiful experience. And so thank you again, Melinda. It was really lovely. And I can't believe you were at Kalani as well. And so
It's a great place to as they used to say, find yourself, and that was not everybody can take a break like that. And I did. I love that. If you can do it, they are not open anymore. By the way, if you go searching for
yeah,
Kalani, they're
yeah.
not, but there are other beautiful retreat centers in the world that you can go and actually retreat. But you can also take your own mini retreats. And I think that's more practical these days, is to try to take a little mini retreat so you can find that space for yourself.
Mm,
It's a good example of what we need to, infuse in our lives.
right.
Yeah.
You're basically a house plant, just a little more complicated, okay? The house plants, they sit
Yeah, we
around
need.
quietly, you feed them, you water them, you give them light. It's you. It's you. You're
Mhm.
just a, like a neurocomplicated house plant.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if we could stop denying, if we could stop denying that we have a body, and I will say that like our health is really does have to come first, right? We
Yes.
drive ourselves too far into, and it can lead to your immune system being torn down and illness and sickness and being
Yeah.
hurt. So, we don't want to go there. Burnout is not
Oh,
fun. And
much easier to prevent than to get all the way back,
yeah,
friends.
let's not do
It's
that.
one of
Let's
those
not do
things.
that.
Preventative measures worth an ounce of pound or whatever the saying.
An inch. Oh
I
no,
don't
I'm terrible with cliches.
I know, me too. I make them up.
Okay, all of you in the audience, help us out. You can put it in the
Yeah.
comments. What were we trying to say here?
Oh, I know. I got it. I think I got it. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Just
That
takes me
sounds
a minute.
good.
I
I think that's
remix them like 4 times before I get to the accurate one. Thank you to whoever said that. Thank you to my parents for not teaching me these important sayings because now I look ridiculously funny when I try to bring them.
It's
So
okay.
thank you,
I
Melinda. I love ending on a high note and a laugh. And so thank you again. And we look forward to experiencing all of the magic inside the Own Your Power, Lead Your Way Summit, virtual summit. Of course, I don't think we mentioned that, but most
It's
things
a
are
virtual
okay.
summit. Yes, you can do
Yeah,
it from
totally
anywhere. And
free.
we have speakers from around the globe. So the time zone thing is global. That's a global thing.
Love
Yes.
it. Well, thank
Yep.
you again. Take care, everybody. Thank you for being part of this beautiful community. And as we said earlier, share this episode, invite your friends. The more people that are grounded in this truth and leading from a place of intentionality and purpose, the better. Or as we say, more better. It's more
Mo
better the
better.
more people have
Mo
these tools.
better.
Okay.
Every day mo
Right,
better.
everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, Melinda. Take good care.
Bye.